All right, so this is what we call an emergency gathering of the AZ Audibles crew, Eric Sorensen, Zach Elvira, and myself, getting together and chopping up the story of the day, which is the Hamilton Husky football team for 2022 will not be playing in the playoffs. They are going to be done after the Battle of Arizona Avenue this year will be the Open Division Championship for Hamilton, I think is the best way to put this. Zach, you've been on this story first all day today. When did this come out? What was your initial reaction?
So it first came out this morning when the AIA met for their first executive board meeting of the school year. It was one of those violations that they were seeing along with a couple others. I do know that Chandler Unified School District Athletic Director Sean Rustad was there, along with Brett Palmer, who's the AD at Hamilton. And in an executive session, which obviously means closed to the public, they went in, they presented some more facts and maybe evidence, I guess you can say, to basically make Hamilton maybe get off with a warning or just some advisement, which is basically a slap on the wrist.
Okay, let me jump in right on
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
For many people today, they don't know what happened with an assistant coach and screenshots. So we got to go way back on this to get us to this point. So why were they there today? What was the case that they were defending?
So they were trying to defend direct messages on social media that came from defensive coordinator Tim Doherty to a Cesar Chavez player. In those messages, he basically commented on a player from Cesar Chavez after he was at Chili's big man competition down in Maricopa back in June. And essentially he hinted at the kid only having to sit a third of the season if he were to transfer to Hamilton. At least that's what it seemed like, because he said Hamilton plans on playing 14 games every year, alluding to the Huskies wanting to compete for a championship. And he said something about you'll only miss half or like a third of the season. And that wasn't the exact words, of course, but that's basically what he was saying in the messages. So fast forward to today, the AIA, it was reported to them. They're seeing it today. The executive board, that is, went into executive session, came out. Tony Corona, she used to be the president of the board. Now she's just a board member. She motioned to put Hamilton on probation. It passed essentially with all the members aside from Jennifer Burks, the AD at Perry. And for that, I think it was just one of those conflict of interest things. She works in the district, and it would be kind of one of those things, whether she voted yes or no. Either way, it could be bad for her. So she, basically excused herself from the vote. And now Hamilton was put on probation, and they are out of the playoffs unless they're able to appeal and win the appeal.
Okay. Eric, when you first heard this story, what was your thought? What was your reaction?
Tim Doherty cheated and he got caught. I mean, this is the most cut and dry case because you have screenshots of direct messages, guys. It doesn't get this is an evidence-based case. What happened broke a rule set by the AIA. Of course, I feel terrible for the kids, but I also feel really bad for a lot of those longtime assistant coaches on Hamilton that had absolutely nothing to do with this. And also the parents. I mean, the parents are giving these kids to these Hamilton coaches to set an example of not only how to act on the field, but off the field as well. This is just Hamilton being Hamilton. We've been down this road before for one reason or another, right?
But is it really Hamilton being Hamilton? Like, I'm looking at this, my reaction is, this is pretty heavy-handed by the AIA. This is very heavy-handed in a competitive open division, or they call it the premier region. This is the biggest region of football. And there's people that are in that room that don't know how football works in the highest of divisions. And you can't have it be 1A, 2A, 3A, and this is how it works in 6A, in my opinion. This seems to me to be very much an overreaction because it is one assistant coach who, by the way, has been suspended for 3 games, okay? The fact that these kids had to find out while they're in class today is an absolute shame and a crime, because this happened in the middle of the day. And from my understanding, kids were getting text messages that your season is over in terms of the finals. That's not good. So you had something that happened over the summer at a combine in Maricopa that leads to one of the teams in the open division. It really doesn't even matter if they're in the open division conversation. It's just a team gets eliminated from postseason because of something that happened in the off season by an assistant coach who should be disciplined and was disciplined. Zach, am I missing something here?
Well, I asked the IA this, and the thing is, the problem is this was their first meeting of the year. Even David Hines told me that he wishes he could have seen this earlier on, maybe in early August or even in late July. But they have a certain time frame when their meetings take place and when they start. And unfortunately, the start of it was today, when we're only 2 weeks away from the start of the season. The timing of it sucks. I'm with you, Brad. The timing of it is horrible. It came out, all these kids, I'm sure, were getting the Twitter notifications, text messages, like you said. And let's be honest, people don't like Hamilton. So when people saw this, it was a mixed reaction of, finally, they deserve it, and oh, well, I feel bad for the kids. I feel horrible for the kids. I really do, because a lot of those seniors, like what they were told, they don't get that opportunity anymore to compete for an open division championship or a championship in general.
But it was
So
something,
yes,
Zach, it
it
was in the
really,
off season. It's in the off season. And I'm not excusing it away. So people are like, oh, you're excusing your silence. No, this just seems to me to be common sense that you're going to drop a bomb on a football program of something that happened in June. The kid never transferred that I'm aware of. Did the kid come to Hamilton because of this? Or was it, and I have no problem with the coaches over at Chavez taking the screenshots and turning them in. I have no problem with that. I don't think it's right when I see coaches that sit there and make comments, and there are head coaches at other programs that do this nonsense. You can't do that. You stay away from players.
Here's the
But
thing.
Brad, they took it, but he took it too far.
Sure,
he broke a rule.
You're right. You're right.
And the AIA can't. They're all guilty by association. As unfair as that is, that's the cold hard facts of this. And if you really want to look at this, AD Palmer had the chance to set the example the right way and either fire him or suspend him for the entire season, which may have drawn back some of that penalty for the postseason. He opted for 3 games. He played Russian roulette. He lost. And it's ridiculous because, again, it is an AIA rule that was broken.
And that's what I was going to say too. People always get mad at the AIA because they don't enforce rules, or they don't do this, or they turn their heads to stuff. Look, the AIA saw a violation and they're enforcing a rule, and now people are upset about it. Obviously, the AIA is not going to win either way, but that's the way I look at it. They thought there was enough there to warrant a probation and to follow through with what the rule is and what the punishment is for those rules. And so they did it. And Hamilton has a chance to appeal. I mean, obviously they have that chance, which is a good thing.
What are they going to appeal, Zach? What are they going to appeal?
Honestly, it's going to be a tough case. I mean, like Eric said, the evidence is there. And whether or not you want to believe that, okay, off season, or, what's allowed in the off season, what isn't. I mean, it'd be the same thing like if a team started putting on helmets and pads in the off season in the summer and started hitting each other. That's against the rules too. It all still applies. So
Zach, what does it matter when it happened? I don't care if it happened during the season, during the summer, on the moon. It's still a violation. That's the thing. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the summer or if it's in the season.
Why not?
It's directly breaking the rules.
The thing is how many?
The one coach directly broke the rules. It feels like they went after a big fish. They got the big fish, and everybody else, you better pay attention because we got the big fish. And all these kids are having to pay for it because now we've set the example. We can take down Hamilton. We'll take down everybody else. That's how this feels to me on the surface.
I actually kind of agree with you on that one.
Why do you have a problem with that?
No, it's something, to me, the off season does make a difference. This was a coach. The school was not in session. Okay. These summer leagues that they're going to, it's not like school is in session. You had a rogue coach who went out of his way to do something that we all see is wrong, that is illegal. But does that mean you bring down the hammer like this? This just it seems overarching, Eric. It seems overbearing.
Here's my question.
I think you let me jump in here real quick, Zach. I think you do. I think you do, Brad, because it wasn't just a like. It was like a few sentences and the hint of, hey, if you come to Hamilton, you're going to play a whole bunch of postseason games and you're going to be elevated playing against the top competition. Wink, wink, wink. I mean, like, that's not a like, because sometimes I accidentally like tweets. That happens when you're scrolling through your timeline. That does happen. This was a direct violation. He made contact with this player with every intention to recruit him.
I agree with you. I do agree with you on that. We agree on that. I just think this penalty is way harsher than it needs to be by wiping out a team, and for these kids to have no shot at it. Okay, so from there, what happens next on the appeal process, Zach, from your view as you're working this story?
I mean, I don't know beyond the obvious, and that is parting ways with Tim Doherty. I don't know what else Hamilton can do to win this appeal. And I'm not advocating for that. Obviously, I don't want to see anyone lose their jobs. I don't want to see kids lose their season or their, their playoff hopes. But like Eric said, it's kind of a cut and dry thing. I mean, Tim obviously was very, he complimented the player on his game. I get that. Coaches can do that, whatever. It doesn't matter. It was just the wording of it that obviously looked very bad, and then the intention as well that was there.
Sure.
I thought 3 games was good.
Okay,
I thought 3 games was good from Hamilton.
But if they fire him, if they fire Tim, then Tim's going to sit there and say, "Oh, wait a minute! You guys already suspended me for 3 games. You guys are trying to make up for this." Like Tim's in an interesting spot if that's how it goes.
I think it's a lose-lose either way for Hamilton right now.
Okay, the players. What have you heard early on here about players saying, "Peace out, I'm transferring"? And no, I'm not going to sit 5. Daddy baller dad that's got a lot of money and lawyers are going to say, these adults did this to my kid, right?
Mm-hmm. I have not heard anything yet. Will I probably hear stuff, or can we expect to see maybe 1 or 2 this early transfer? Probably. That's just the nature of it. Parents are probably going to freak out. Kids might freak out, and for good reason, obviously. And they're probably going to go. And quite honestly, they would probably win the appeal too. I could see them winning all of their appeals to become eligible almost right away. But at the same time, if those kids are, maybe if they're truly loyal to that Hamilton program, and I don't want to put them in a bad spot, obviously saying that, but if they love that Hamilton football program, they kind of want to try to see how this plays out with the appeal process. If Hamilton goes down that route, because they haven't officially said if they will or not, then we might not see transfers for another week or so.
Eric, what do you make of it?
Brad, you mentioned something off the top that I want to go back and circle back on. You said, what happens now with the players and the motivation to play. This isn't the death penalty, but I bet for some of those seniors who aren't going to have the opportunity to play in college and came off a season where, let's be honest, everyone thought, Hamilton had a really good chance to run the table last year until Saguaro got them. What is their motivation to play? Is Coach Sadepsi going to say, circle the wagons for that Chandler game and let's go win a region? That doesn't seem like, you're really aiming for the Hamilton program. But when you're handcuffed, like the Huskies are right now, how are those players going to be motivated to play a season where they know they can't hoist that gold ball?
Sure. And they're open with Bishop Gorman. Zach, you're going to that game, right?
Yep, I'm going to. Yeah, they second week of the season.
Second. Yeah.
And I want to go back to what Eric just said too. You said that it's not quite the death penalty. If this plays out and they're still ineligible for the postseason, and we see players transfer in mass numbers, this is the death penalty for that Hamilton football program. It will take a couple years to rebuild if they have a mass exodus of transfers because of what just happened.
Well, and then you have to wonder about Mike Zadepski's future as head coach, right? I mean, this happened under his watch. This was his assistant coach. It's just the nature of the business. And the parents, you guys know this. I live in the wild, wild west, known as the Southeast Valley, known as the Bermuda Triangle. When this starts to go here in the next, I don't know, it's been 6 hours, in the next 12, 14, 24 hours, stuff's going to fly. Stuff's going to fly around here. And I'd
also love to hear the conversations of some of the top high-end recruits that graduated last year, whether it be Nico Marchio or Deuce Davis or some of those other players. I mean, they have to be thinking to themselves, we got out before everything went sideways. And yeah, I guess that's good luck on their part. But like you said, who knows what's going to happen? And Zach made a great point. Yeah, in a way, it is a death penalty, especially if they have that mass exodus of players.
I guess, and to put a bow on this, for me, if there is an appeal, and I'm trying to wrap my arms around how you can do an appeal, and if the AIA comes back and looks at it and says, yeah, we're going to walk this back a little bit after cooler heads have prevailed, I would be okay with that. But if there are more than just the one exchange with the one player, because that to me just does not say, okay, let's put a death penalty on postseason for this program. It just doesn't feel right. It feels heavy-handed. That's where I'm at. Eric, final word from you on this.
I think the AI needs to set a precedent. I mean, this is there, like we talked about. This is clear intent. There was a recruitment that happened, and the coaches should know better. The coaches talk to their kids all the time. Be smart on social media. Make sure you reread what you write before you hit that send button. And now they have one of their own coaches not only getting the coaching staff in trouble, but basically, bonfiring the entire season for the entire team.
Zach, final thoughts.
It's just an unfortunate situation for the players, especially. And like Eric mentioned, for the coaches that had nothing to do with it. It's unfortunate all the way around. But again, people have said for years they want the AIA to stop overlooking things like this or stop overlooking different rule violations. AIA said, okay, fine, we'll make an example. And unfortunately, it's Hamilton that is the example.
They will not be in the postseason this year. That is AZ Audibles, a little emergency session with Eric Sorensen, Zach Elvira. I'm Brad Susmat.